You're watching Meet the Movie Press. We're going to be talking about Suicide Squad 2. Matt. You're watching Meet the Movie Press, and coming up, we're going to be talking about Suicide Squad 2, Matt Reeves directing The Batman, and a Raid remake from Joe Carnahan.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk, we talk movies. And now, here's Popcorn Talk's Meet the Movie Press.
Good morning, everybody.
Feeling very home. It's raining in LA.
Yes.
Are you staying at home to work today? Obviously not. You're here, so it's kind of a redundant question. I know a lot of people who are not even leaving the house today because it's raining in LA.
I know. It's a state of emergency here in California. No, I'm already over the hill. I am going to work today like a man. My name is Jeff Sneider.
Or a woman.
Or a woman.
Or a woman.
Or a woman. Sure. There will be women at my work, too, they are going as well.
There will be women.
I am Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of the Tracking Board, tracking-board.com. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at @TheInSneider. And with me, as always, is the man who strums my pain with his fingers, Simon Thompson.
Two times.
Two times.
Yeah, hello. You can find me on Twitter at @ShowbizSimon. That was a very smooth opening today.
You like that?
I'm pleased with that one.
I had to write that down.
And Instagram at @ShowbizSimon. Did it take you a week to think of that, or was that?
I actually was, so I got a new car.
Yeah.
I've been listening to all these old CDs, and today was like my 90s like rap, like R&B mix. So I was listening to Killing Them Softly on the way up here. That's right.
I just love the idea of you driving through Hollywood listening to smooth 90s R&B.
Oh, you wouldn't believe what was on these mixes. It was very embarrassing.
Bell biv de bo. So you can find me on Twitter at ShowbizSimon, Instagram at ShowbizSimon, Facebook, This is Simon Thompson, and various outlets from Reuters to
the guy's
Forbes
everywhere.
to BBC.
He's omnipresent.
Yeah, like a fart in a lift.
And maybe he'll be in Suicide Squad 2.
Maybe.
Maybe he'll
Apparently
pop
I'm
up
on the
there.
list to direct it.
Everybody
everyone
is.
else is. So.
That is where we're going to start this week, folks. The big news.
Yeah.
Basically, this is Mel Gibson's job if he wants it. He needs to read the comics and then see if he wants to proceed and try to make a deal.
Yep.
But Mel Gibson is the frontrunner to direct Suicide Squad 2, although Daniel Espinosa, Jonathan Levine, and Ruben Fleischer are waiting in the wings. Simon, what do you think about that?
I'm kind of undecided, actually. I mean, I like him as a director. I really enjoyed Hacksaw Ridge. I only saw it quite recently. I really enjoyed that. He, not long ago, said that Batman vs. Superman was basically a pile of shit. So I don't think he's a great lover of the genre, which I think will actually could play in its favor. Because, as I've said before, there are sometimes so many directors that are
they're too close to it.
They're too close to it.
Yep.
And I think because he's not close to it, and I think he'll look at it from a cinematic point of view, from a director's point of view, as you would do with any other project, whether it's a rom-com or a horror, could be something that actually it needs. Now, I know there's still a lot of resistance to Mel Gibson because of that stuff.
Of course.
And understandable, serious stuff. But he's a good director. And I think first time I thought it was a joke. Then I actually thought about it and I was like, actually, that is not a bad idea. And it would be really good for Warner Brothers to bring someone in who has kudos as a director to do this.
So, I think this is awesome.
Yeah.
I think saying Mel Gibson is a good director is actually understating things. I think he's a great director.
Yeah, he is, yeah.
And the Suicide Squad sequel would be very lucky to have him.
Yep.
The DCEU would be very lucky to have him. I've, obviously been taking a lot of stuff on Twitter this week because I don't think that this necessarily will happen. I'd just be so shocked and surprised if Mel Gibson did this after getting a directing nomination for Hacksaw Ridge. I don't know why he needs the headache of entering the DCEU.
Yep.
I don't know why he would basically want to inherit David Ayer's vision and his cast. Like, if you're going to do a superhero movie, why wouldn't you want to build yours from the ground up? So I am a little I was conflicted about the news in that way, where it's just like, oh, I want to get my hopes up, but I can't imagine a world in which Mel Gibson would want to do this. But then again, he hasn't told him to go fuck off yet.
Yeah.
Justin Kroll at Variety says that Mel Gibson really wants to work with Will Smith.
Okay.
And obviously, this is a cool ensemble that Warner Brothers has in place, and I imagine it would be very enticing for a director. So.
I think it would give, as a director, I think it would give Mel Gibson a chance to sort of flex some muscles that he hasn't flexed yet. I mean, he's done it as an actor. You know, he's done the action stuff, he's done the light stuff, he's done some darker stuff. But he hasn't, as a director, he hasn't done this kind of thing, which will bring him, from all of his films, to bring the elements of emotional attachment, really nicely drawn characters, something he really works very well with. You know, a gravitas. There's something in the darkness rather than it just being dark for the sake of it being dark. And I think there are great characters within Suicide Squad. We saw that, but they just weren't handled. It didn't draw anything out of them. They were just two-dimensional.
Devin Faraci actually wrote a great thing on Facebook about why Mel Gibson would be so perfect for this. As far, you know, like the Suicide Squad is inherently dark. You know, they could make the sequel more violent, especially depending on how Logan does. If it does as well as I think that it's going to do.
Now, you saw that last night, but you can't talk about it, right?
I can't. Yeah, I can't
I'm
talk.
seeing it next week.
I can't talk about Logan yet. Go to my Twitter page at 1:30. You know, and I'm gonna weigh in. That's when the embargo lifts today. And I think my opinion is more valuable than some because you guys know that I don't love comic book movies.
Yep.
You know, there's people who are just gonna love every single X-Men movie and Wolverine movie. I'm not one of those people, and so I hope that you'll check out the tracking board. I may write something, even though our critic is reviewing it separately. But anyway, Suicide Squad 2, Mel Gibson.
Yep.
Like, this guy, do you know, like, I love talking about the difference between a classic and a masterpiece. I think that Braveheart is a classic, but not a masterpiece.
Yep.
And I think that Apocalypto is a masterpiece, but not a classic.
Yep.
I'm just so shocked that when you get a Best Director nomination, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And I'm surprised that he would want to do this. I know he's been trying to get a movie about the demi.
I get that, but I'm not surprised because his films have had a lot of success commercially. Not going to pretend that they're up there with like the likes of Transformers and stuff like that because they're generally not. But he hasn't done something like this. Probably the most mainstream film that he's done is Braveheart. Even though Hacksaw Ridge was a major release, it was through a major studio. I think this would be the most mainstream movie he's done since Braveheart. So I think
for sure
he could do with that commercial shot in the arm, mainstream shot, that he doesn't currently have. He has everything else you need as a great director, but he just doesn't. It's been a while. It's 20 years.
Well, think of Passion of the Christ.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem to strike us as commercial on the outside, but it's the most successful R-rated movie of all time.
Yeah, which I'm saying is that it
or
is.
Is that Deadpool now?
It could be Deadpool, but yeah, I mean, I'm talking. You know, when we talk about successful, it was very successful, but we're not talking about billion-dollar movies. We're not talking about almost $1 billion movies.
I see.
You know,
listen, this would be a real coup
Yeah.
for Warner Brothers, for the DC universe, and for this movie. We'll see if it comes to fruition. Let's say Mel passes.
Yeah.
Which of these other three guys would you want to see? And why is it all white males? Like, I would have liked at least one other name in there. A female director, a director of color, someone besides the usual suspects here. But out of those other three, anyone jump to the top?
Not really.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they're all solid choices. Someone I was surprised not to see on the list, but then some news around the same time this week kind of made it a bit more clear why perhaps this person wasn't there. Maybe they weren't considered. But Joe Carnahan.
Ah, I see.
I would really like to see Joe Carnahan have a bash at one of these movies because, again, like Mel Gibson, he does choreograph as well as direct.
Carnahan's
He choreographs
great.
some really great character stuff mixed in with really strong action stuff.
I actually think that you couldn't get closer to Ayer than going with Carnahan. I feel like Carnahan and Ayer are like almost the same filmmaker.
But also the director of
in
Wick
a good way.
Chad.
Yeah, Chad Stahelski.
Yeah, I really like what he did with John Wick 2. I know he's obviously, it's pretty much a given John Wick 3 is going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see him because the stuff that he did with John Wick 2, the violence and the action and the character, even when Keanu's not the best actor, but he really managed to bring that out and really tie it together nicely.
I don't know what's going to be next for Chad because he's attached to the Highlander movie.
He is, yeah.
So
he is working. I spoke to him about that a couple of weeks ago.
How far along that is. Anyway, Suicide Squad, that's Squad 2. That's exciting news. But there was other huge news in the DC universe this week. and that was Matt Reeves coming on to direct The Batman.
Yes.
Broke at like 6:30 on my birthday last Friday. Of course, it kept me in the office super late. I kind of love it. I think he's a really interesting director. I really liked Cloverfield. I loved the Let the Right One In remake. I loved his Apes movie, and I think this new Apes movie also looks dope.
Yeah.
This is awesome. No?
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. Genuinely really excited about that. And I think, even though obviously Ben Affleck, going slightly on including another story in this, Ben Affleck rumors apparently he doesn't really want to be Batman anymore. I think if that was a final
we're gonna get into that after this, but let's focus on
he
the
would be
director
someone
for
that
now.
would really handle that really, really nicely. I think we'd see a really nice round off there.
And it seems like he was always the guy that they were targeting too.
Yeah. I really think he would be a very solid choice. I don't think there's anything that he's done that I haven't really enjoyed or come away impressed, enthralled, and thoroughly entertained. And he is a nice guy.
Boris Kidd of the Hollywood Reporter said that if it hadn't gone to Matt Reeves, the other two guys in the mix were Ridley Scott and Fede Alvarez. That's pretty fucking interesting. That
Fede
Ridley
Alvarez.
Scott was going to do potentially the Batman. Ridley Scott's Batman. Wow.
Well, I mean, I'm not entirely on board with that, but why the fuck not? I mean, he could perhaps take it a bit more towards where Nolan was with it.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe he could do that.
And Fede Alvarez, I'm glad that studios seem to recognize that he's capable of big things.
He is capable of big things. He's also a really big but restrained nerd. He knows where to draw the line between passion and the project and get that balance right.
I just love that he's on these lists now. For these big studio gigs.
Long overdue.
So yeah, congrats to Matt Reeves. Again, I think he's probably the best director that the DC universe has actually brought on. And of course, if Mel Gibson comes aboard, even better.
Yeah.
But man, it's just such a mess over there. I just don't know why some of these guys want to involve themselves with that. I get with Batman, you can't turn down the chance to direct a solo Batman movie. Come on. But Suicide Squad 2, that's a head scratcher for me.
But whoever directs that will either save or kill that franchise.
Yeah, pretty much.
You're either going to cut the head off a stake and another will.
So there was a rumor about Ben Affleck not wanting to be Batman. It came from John Campea at Collider.
Yep.
And I love those guys over there. And I've said dumb shit about Campea in the past. And so this is not an attack on Campea at all. He just happens to be the one who reported it, and I think other people had heard it as well. So don't interpret it like that. But I took that with the huge grain of salt that it was issued with. I think Ben Affleck is going to star in the Batman. I don't think Matt Reeves would be engaging if Affleck had his foot out the door. I think that there are also these things, it's crazy, called what is it? Contracts. And so if Ben Affleck gets cold feet and doesn't want to be Batman, I just don't think it's as easy as, all right, Ben,
he's not going to disappear before the Batman. He's not going to disappear before the Batman. He'll do the Batman. I'd put money on that.
They just made his passion project for the guy. I'm sorry it didn't work out. But yeah, I just don't see Ben Affleck reneging on his contract and bailing. You can't just be recasting Batman every few years. So
Spider-Man.
That's different. That's
that
totally
is different.
That is a different studio, a different property. But I wouldn't get too nervous about Ben Affleck leaving Batman. And please don't interpret that on attack on John or Collider or whatsoever. John said he had 4 or 5 sources, so I do not blame him for going.
But I could say, just from a time, how he's committed his time to that, I just could naturally see that as a progression. After the Batman, he hands it over to someone else.
Right.
He's devoted a lot of years to this now, so it's fine. Talking of moving Batman forward and Suicide Squad and all that kind of thing, and Justice League. There was a story this week about Lawrence Fishburne saying that he's not in Justice League. Now, I interviewed Lawrence for John Wick 2 a couple of weeks ago, and I actually brought this up, and he said,
call him Lawrence, you call him Larry. Everybody calls him Larry.
Really?
Yeah.
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Sorry
to interrupt. Go on. Tell me.
So I was talking about it, and I asked him, and he said, no, he's not in Justice League, But I asked about the Batman and, moving forward with the DC universe. And he actually said that he wasn't, he hasn't had the conversations. He's not aware of Perry coming back, but he's very much open to that because he likes the character, and it's one of the few characters that he would actually genuinely like to return to, and he would be interested to see. But he's not written into Justice League.
Right. Well, I mean, I imagine there's not a lot of Clark
need
Kent
for him in there. It's not really about him and Batman. It's about the Justice League.
Yeah.
But the Batman, he hasn't had any sort of conversations about that yet.
Well, the Batman,
or
that's
Superman or anything else.
Yeah,
so.
he would be waiting for a standalone sequel to Man of Steel, like a Superman 2.
Yeah.
There's no reason
So
to be in the Batman.
He's very open to it, and that door is very much still open to him. But there haven't been any conversations about it yet.
Okay. Let's just end with comic book movies here. So the next X-Men is shooting this year, apparently.
It is, yeah. It's going to start shooting this year. This came from Sophie Turner this week. She actually spoke to.
I could listen to you say me, Sophie Turner just over and over. Sophie Turner.
Sophie Turner. She spoke to ITN actually on the red carpet at the BAFTAs over the weekend. ITN, one of my clients from the UK, so shout out to them. And she said that she's going to be doing that, and they are going to be shooting this year, which is good, which is interesting.
That's what I would have expected.
Yeah. I'm liking kind of the reshuffling and the refocusing and what they're looking to do with some of the X-Men stuff and expanding the galaxy at the moment.
I'm still a little confused. Like, I know there's a New Mutants movie, but then there's also an X-Men reboot potentially, then there's just. I watched Legion last night. Have you been watching this?
I haven't. I'm going to watch it this weekend. My wife is away this weekend, so I'm literally having...
While the wife's away, Simon will watch Legion.
Simon will cry and probably not be able to cook his own food. I'll get to food later. But yeah, so I've got a couple of things lined up, and that is on my to have a cup of tea and watch a bit of TV list. While I sit there in my underwear on my sofa crying. Yeah.
What else is happening?
Well, let's talk. What we're talking about the sequel there. I talked about Joe Carnahan.
Yes.
I would like to see him direct Suicide Squad 2, but he has announced this week that he is going to direct the Raid reimagining with Frank Grillo in the lead role. I love this.
It's first of all, it's fucking awesome. I love both these guys. Yeah. I've had the pleasure of interacting with them a little bit. I got to do a Q&A with Joe a few years back for his like first short film and stuff. I love Narc. I love The Gray. Yeah. This is a great pairing. Now, who was going to direct the Raid remake initially, the one that didn't get off the ground? Because Grillo was always sort of involved in the Raid.
Yes.
I always think he was going to star in it. I don't
he
know
was
if
involved in the Raid before he kind of became kind of the
Purge guy.
Yeah, the Purge guy, the Hollywood name, where you were like, oh, I know who Frank Grillo is.
Yeah.
He was that guy.
This is sick. Like, Grillo is on that show Kingdom. Like, he knows how to fight as well. I don't know if he would be the lead or what the deal is with that. But yeah, I think it's a reimagining. It's not going to be a straight remake. They're going to have to do some stuff because they don't have, Iko Uwais. Yeah. I think that they'll have to adapt a little because the fighting will not be like that.
Yep.
Maybe it will, but it beats me.
But I like both those guys. I love the Raid.
Is this going to go before Bad Boys 3? Because Bad Boys 3 got pushed. Like, I don't know if he's trying to just do this down and dirty.
I'm assuming they're going to have to push this out sort of through quite quickly, because when was Bad Boys is scheduled for the end of next year, right?
I don't know when it's scheduled.
Scheduled?
So I'm just messing with you.
Damn you. I talk funny.
I'll tell you right now, like the names that we had heard back in the day for the Raid remake were like Sam Jackson, Taylor Kitsch.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there was any other one.
Kellen Lutz.
I could see like Aaron Taylor Johnson as the lead in this or something. Not Kellen.
Kellen Lutz. He's available.
I'm sure he's
available.
So listen, any remake of the Raid is going to have the problem where it's compared to the original. I think that the Raid and its sequel are both incredible movies in very different ways. But you know what? If anyone's going to do it, I'm glad it's Joe and Frank.
And they are framing it as a reimagining rather than a remake. So it's not going to be like a straight remake. I think they're going to do something a bit different with it and then take the heart of the Raid.
The XYZ guys are involved, like Joe and Frank's new company, War Party. So
I'd love to see Frank Grillo and Dolph Lundgren in an action movie together. I love Dolph Lundgren. I love Dolph Lundgren.
Did you see Kindergarten Cop 2?
No.
Then there you go.
Because I love Dolph Lundgren.
Yeah.
I just want to see the good things in Dolph.
Grillo's such a great story because I have actor friends who like they're in their 30s now. They feel like they haven't made it yet. I'm like, look at Grillo. He made it late in his career, and now he's fucking kicking ass.
Michael Shannon made it late in his career.
Yeah.
He'd been acting for like 20 odd years.
Yeah, I guess.
He was a 20-year overnight success.
All right, so last week I got to eat crow on a couple of things.
Yes.
One was Will Smith. I think I had mentioned like, that's why they're pushing Bad Boys because I guess Will Smith's doing Dumbo. Will Smith apparently not doing Dumbo.
Yeah,
we found out about 20 minutes later
After the show.
I don't know what what happened
tits.
there. I don't know if Disney is just like, all right, this is a movie about an elephant, so we're not paying Will Smith his $20 million.
Yeah.
We'll find somebody else to do it.
You hear those stories so often in Hollywood, though.
Yeah, exactly. That's every other movie.
Yeah.
So I don't know if Suicide Squad 2 is going to happen quicker or something. Yeah. I don't know if Will's trying to fit another movie into the slot. So that was interesting. And then the other thing I had to eat crow on. We were talking last week about Star Wars and how Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to voice the first significantly featured female droid. I obviously was corrected on that a bajillion times by the super Star Wars nerds across the internet. I had said that I was a little disappointed in all these white British actresses being cast, right? Felicity Jones, Amelia Clarke, Daisy Ridley. Like, let's get some actresses of color. And then, sure enough, Tandy Newton joined the cast.
She did.
From Westworld and Crash.
Not white.
No. So I don't know who she's playing. A lot of people were like, oh, could she be playing Han Solo's wife? I'm like, there's a 20-year age difference between her and Alden, so I don't think so.
In space, no one can hear you swipe right on Space Tinder.
Right. Maybe it's a May-December thing. No, I don't think that's the role. I don't know what the role is.
I'd like to see them use her in a larger role than people like Gugu and Bata Raw have been used, where she voiced the... Huh? Was it Gugu?
Mm-mm. I don't know what you're talking about.
Who?
Lupita?
No, it was Lupita.
Oh,
sorry,
Maz
Lupita.
Kanata, yeah.
And Lupita was kind of wasted. Great character, but I would have liked to have seen her in an on-screen role.
Yeah, I think that she is on screen.
Yeah.
I don't think that she's CGI, but what do I know? What else we got? Tim Minchin, your boy.
Yes, in a film that I was really disinterested in. We've had this conversation before, Robin Hood Origins, because we need a Robin Hood movie like we need, another Peter Pan movie. We just don't need them.
I completely agree.
Yeah, I'm just not excited by them. I wasn't excited by King Arthur, but I'm getting more into that. But then again, I like Ben-Hur, so what the fuck do I know? I like the idea of Ben-Hur. I hated the film. I didn't like the film. I did not like Ben-Hur. No one liked Ben-Hur. But yeah, so Tim Minchin has signed on to play Friar Tuck in Robin Hood Origins. Now, if you don't know who Tim Minchin is, he's an Australian comedian. He started out writing songs, doing funny parody songs. One about the Pope was perhaps one of his best known ones. And so he did this, and he kind of then moved into acting, and he's done shows. He did the stage show Matilda, which was hugely successful in London, and it was very successful here in the States as well. He hasn't done a lot of acting. He did a stage show.
Californication.
Yes.
That's what I know him from.
He was in that. He's done some acting on stage. He was in a tour of Jesus Christ
Superstar.
He's like
a short Russell Brand to me.
Yeah, but working. And
okay,
yeah, I really like the idea because I think he's going to bring something really interesting, funny, and cheeky, and really intelligent to this role. I'm amazed that he's not been cast in stuff beforehand when you've had the likes of, bless him, Stephen Merchant appearing in movies and doing well, but not exactly blowing anybody away. But the likes of Tim Minchin haven't crossed over to do movies yet. I think this will be an absolute jewel in their crown for this.
A jewel in the crown.
A jewel in the crown.
I like it. He was going to do, I don't know if he's doing it or not, or if it's already done. I think it's a DreamWorks animation thing called Larrikins, and the whole voice cast.
God, I remember hearing about that.
The whole voice cast is Australian, like Jackie Weaver and whatever. Tim Minchin, you know who I'd heard was going to get this initially? They must have passed, or maybe it was a scheduling or money thing. I don't fucking know. But Jermaine Clement.
Cool. Cannot get enough.
It's an interesting cast. They have Jamie Foxx, Taron Egerton, a couple other folks.
Yeah.
Jamie Dornan, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And I love Taron. I think he's great. I didn't like him in Sing, but I didn't really like Sing.
And this director, Otto Bathurst, he's a Peaky Blinders guy, I believe.
I believe so. I'm not really familiar with his work.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, one thing I was quite interested to hear. I mean, it was not a massive surprise, but it was still a nice thing to hear. Was Mulan, the live-action Mulan, found a director this week.
Yes, Niki Caro. Yeah. I really like this call.
Best known for Whale Rider, of course.
Yeah, I never saw Whale Rider, so that's not what she's best known for to me. But I really, really liked McFarlane USA a couple of years ago. Another Disney movie. Clearly, they had a good experience with her because they're bringing her back. Now, everyone thought that they were going to be hiring an Asian filmmaker for this. So in that sense, there's a twinge of disappointment because they actually came out and said that. They were like, we are searching for an Asian director.
Ang Lee was in the pot
they went
for this,
to Ang Lee, and he probably correctly passed. And they also went to, I think it's Jiang Wen, who played Baze Malbus in Rogue One. Anyways, they didn't wind up with an Asian filmmaker, but they did get a female filmmaker, which is great. I think that she's more than capable.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah, I think she's absolutely terrific, and so she is going to be the second woman to direct $100 million, budgeted film at Disney.
Oh, who was the first?
Ava DuVernay, who's doing Wrinkle in Time now.
Of course.
So I just think Niki Caro is totally up to the task. She's a pro. Yeah.
No, I'll be honest with you, the Disney live-action movies, they've kind of had a 50-50 hit rate with me. I really enjoyed Maleficent. I wasn't a great fan of Cinderella.
Didn't see either one.
I mean, they're not really. I mean, they're not exactly the kind of film that I would expect you to want to rush out and see.
I'm going to see Beauty and the Beast, though.
Yeah, Beauty and the Beast, I'm really interested to see. I mean, I know people that I've said before. I know people that worked on it, and they've spoken very highly of the film as it was being made. And people don't always do that when they work on movies. Sometimes it's going to be a shit show, but they're genuinely really excited about that. So I am, and I like the cast. I like Josh Gad. I like Luke. I like everybody in that. To be honest with you, Dan Stevens.
And so Niki Caro now working with Disney and a whole bunch of their China-based team, Chinese consultants they're searching mainland China right now for their Mulan, and this is going to have a primarily Chinese cast. Thumbs up and congrats to Niki Caro. Happy for her.
Let's take a pause for a second because obviously this show, I mean, we love people watching it. We love doing it.
Right, but they have to eat too. They can't just be watching Meet the Movie Press.
They do have to eat, and the reason that people don't have to pay for this stuff is because occasionally we do adverts for people, which is reasonable.
I wish we were doing jingles because I really like to sing, but go on.
I could do voiceovers.
You're doing one right now.
Blue Apron. So the reason that you get to watch this for free and tell all your friends, you can subscribe, on YouTube and you can on iTunes. But the reason we do it is because of thanks to companies like Blue Apron, who every single week we get to do stuff like this, which pays our bills. Now, Blue Apron, as I've said before, is the #1 fresh ingredient and recipe delivery service in the US. Their mission is to make incredible home cooking accessible to everyone, even if you're not very good at cooking. And the reason is because when they ship the stuff to you, for these meals, it's the exact amount of each ingredient which is required for the recipe, so there's no waste. You don't have to do anything. It's all there. You just got to put it together. Lots of different things coming up over the next couple of weeks. There's cashew chicken stir fry with tango mandarins and jasmine rice. There's roast pork with apple, walnut, and farro salad. Crispy barramundi fish with quinoa and roasted carrot salad. Now, if you want to check out this week's menu, you need to go to the website blueapron.com/meet MEET, and also you get your first 3 meals free, and the shipping is free as well, which is awesome. So that's 3 free meals. It's equivalent of like $10 a meal, which is awesome. You will love how it feels. You love how it tastes. It'll create incredible home. Seriously, am I weird? I like.
The way that it will make you feel.
Maybe I'm weird, but I like the sensation of food in my mouth sometimes, the texture of food.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Blue Apron delivers that. Okay, good.
Well, they do because of all the ingredients and the way it's put together.
What can't this company do? It's amazing.
Awesome. So go to blueapron.com/meet MEET. Don't wait. And obviously, thanks to Blue Apron, it's a better way to cook.
Yes.
And they mean that you get to watch this nonsense for free. You don't have to pay for it.
I love it.
So thank you.
Thank you, blueapron.com.
Sorry, movies.
All right.
Movies and food great together.
Okay, here's the movie I really wanted to talk about today. The Scarface remake. The Coen Brothers have come on to polish the script, which is very exciting. They've been doing a lot of polishes lately.
Yeah.
Kids are in college. And David Mackenzie and Peter Berg are the frontrunners to direct this movie.
Peter Berg, I would say yes, please.
I mean, I'd be happy with either one. You know, they both worked on Hell or High Water, which Peterberg produced.
Yep.
You know, I've talked a lot about Peter Berg on the show. I love Patriots Day and Lone Survivor and Deepwater. I don't think that they can really go wrong, although I think Mackenzie's probably the better call here.
Okay. Why'd you say that?
I don't know. Because he's not American, actually. I think that this is an outsider's story. I think it needs to be told by someone who is not an American. But
will there be a 30% import tax on a non-American director coming over here?
I'm still not the biggest fan of Diego Luna as Scarface. He's just so little.
No, I mean, I genuinely, I don't think Rogue One was his best performance.
Yeah.
He can do better. He has done better when he actually goes.
I liked him in, what is it, Elysium?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, when he gets a bit of fire in his belly, I think he's really good. But Rogue One, to me, he was flat. He kind of held back a little bit.
But you know, and maybe that's the script as much as it was his performance. But yeah, I just thought that character was a little flat.
I like watching him though. I think visually he's really pleasant.
I just wanted to see like a newcomer in this role, somebody a little less familiar. I think he's a very safe choice. That said, getting the Coen Brothers to work on this script. A great call.
Yeah, really good.
They obviously deliver some just juicy dialogue.
Yeah.
And Scarface had a lot of really memorable lines. Maybe they'll put a modern twist on some of them. And speaking of modern twists...
Yes.
Actually, not really.
Okay. The
Halloween movie.
Yeah.
They're going to ignore a whole bunch of sequels and basically just pick up...
pretty much all the sequels.
Yeah, pick up after Halloween... Well, pick up after Halloween 2, though, so that's the sequel.
So you've seen all the Halloween movies, or pretty much most of them, right?
I have. I don't think I saw the last one with, like, Busta Rhymes. I think I missed the Busta Rhymes.
I don't think cinema goers went to see that. That was Halloween H2O, wasn't it?
Well, I did
it was
see
a reality show in a house.
H2O. Wasn't there more? There's like Resurrection. There's like
there was Resurrection after that.
That's
Halloween
right. It was
terrible.
But yes, I have seen them all.
A film that I've grown to love over the years was Halloween 3: Season of the Witch,
which is the last one that I saw. I watched it just like a month or two ago.
Yeah, which is not connected to the first two at all.
Yeah,
I've really grown to appreciate that movie over the years.
Me too.
So,
but all that's out the window.
Yeah.
Danny McBride, David Gordon Green, going straight to the fans and letting them know we're going to be picking this up after the Halloween 2. So I don't know if it'll like be set in modern day and just have the mythology that was in 1 or 2, or if it's like the same way Halloween 2 picked up right after Halloween 1. If they're going to pick up right after Halloween 2, that would kind of be cool.
It would be cool. It would also then kind of restrict them. Yeah, it would restrict them to when that can actually be featured. But I like the Halloween franchise. Certainly the start of it. I like the story there. I'm genuinely excited. And I'm not excited to see many sort of horror reboots. But
that is why those movies, Halloween, Freddy Krueger, Jason Voorhees, and Chucky, that is why they have endured, because they have an interesting mythology, I think.
I'm getting genuinely excited when I see set photos from the new Chucky movie. Because that's being made at the moment, and I genuinely am excited.
I want to see the new Leatherface. I've heard that there is a little.
I saw that story this week.
Yeah, it's up in the. I mean, it's up in the air whether it's going to get like a VOD release or any kind of theatrical. But I've heard it's fucking cool.
There are shit horror films that get theatrical releases. There is, unless it really stinks. There is.
Right.
I mean, the last Texas Chainsaw Massacre one that came out, what was that 4 years ago? The one that was in 3D.
Right. Yeah.
Terrible.
I never saw it. I went to the theater.
Yeah.
And they couldn't get the 3D to play, and we all went home.
It wouldn't have improved it. It really wouldn't have improved. It was just the last two that have been made. There was one that was made a couple of years ago, kind of like with the younger, like, let's put teens or young adults in it, kind of trying to do what they did with The Hills Have Eyes, and that wasn't good. So I would, yeah.
It was okay.
No, I like The Hills Have Eyes, but this Texas Chainsaw Massacre one they did wasn't great. So,
we've got
talking of horror directors, Sam Raimi. Not directing a horror, but
Bermuda Triangle.
Yeah. I am a big fan of like disaster movies from the 70s and 80s. It's a shitty genre that I genuinely really enjoy, like Earthquake, Airport, Poseidon,
the Towering
series,
Inferno.
Towering Inferno. So the thought of something that is of that genre in the Bermuda Triangle where stuff disappears, there's so much that he could do. And I didn't love Oz, but I love what Sam Raimi did with Oz. And I really enjoyed his Spider-Man movies. I'm pretty happy about this, if I'm honest.
I think it's interesting. It all kind of depends on what direction they go in. Zing. Anyways, there's a bajillion Bermuda Triangle movies that have been in development. None of them have gotten off the ground, and none of them have even
They've
really
all disappeared.
released. None of them have really released log lines because they don't want the others to know what is going on in that mist, so to speak. I have a bad feeling about this.
Bad feeling as in you think it'll suck, or bad feeling as you just don't think it'll happen?
Oh, no. I think it could happen. It's Skydance, you know. Nobody tells them what to make, but...
Nobody puts Skydance in a corner.
That's right. I just have a feeling that this is going to be like aliens or monsters are making these things disappear in that area.
Take my money.
It's going
Take my money. Come on, that could be a lot of fun.
I would have liked to, I don't know. We'll see. It remains to be seen. I do think Sam Raimi's been slipping in recent years.
Yes, fair.
The Spider-Man movies are firmly in the rear view at this point. I'm not a drag me to hell guy.
Yeah, but really? Oh, I've enjoyed that. But Spider-Man 2, come on, that's up there as one of the greatest superhero movies of them all.
Great. Listen, Sam Raimi's Darkman is better than all the Spider-Man movies. You ever see Darkman?
Did I? Yeah, I did. Liam Neeson as Darkman.
That's a fantastic superhero movie. This is not a superhero movie.
It is not.
A lot of his Ghost House stuff has been weak. So
fair. That is fair, actually.
Yeah. So I'm mixed. Always good to see Sam Raimi directing again, but I don't know. Bermuda Triangle feels like it could have been anybody. Guardians of the Galaxy sequel got a 100 test screening score. Did you see that story this week?
I did not, but that does not surprise me.
It doesn't surprise me either when you know that Marvel doesn't test movies the same way that other studios do, and that this was mainly a friends and family screening.
See, that does skew it.
I don't even know why you would want this story out or why. It was a head scratcher. I felt like it puts all these huge expectations on this movie. Is it supposed to get people excited as if they already weren't excited? It just seems a little unfair and also a little bogus because these are not real test scores. You know?
I think the fact that it is friends and family does slightly mean that it's going to get...
Test scores are bullshit anyways, man. Like, you know how many movies have low test scores that turn out to be amazing and vice versa? This got a 92 with, like, the top box checked 90%. Like, it's all bullshit to me.
You sounded exactly like someone who works on those test scores.
Right.
I talk like this because I deal with numbers.
I don't know. It was just a weird story to see.
I mean, they don't have to hype anticipation for this movie because people are psyched about it. I think it's one of the top 10 movies coming out this summer. It's definitely up there.
I'll tell you what.
You know, in the top 3 that people are most excited about.
Put it this way: if Guardians of the Galaxy is the best comic book movie of the first 6 months of this year, I will be shocked.
Okay, I know where this is going, but you can't take it there.
Which is a little hint.
Yeah. Okay. I'll hold my hands up. I thought that the first Guardians of the Galaxy was really going to suck. I really thought it was going to be... I thought it was going to be a terrible idea. I didn't think it was going to work, and it worked brilliantly, and I was horribly, horribly wrong. And James Gunn, a director that I love, did a remarkable job. I'm very curious to see this. I'm very excited about it, but the first one was so strong.
We're all excited for it.
It's tough.
So
it's going to be high. Talking of James Gunn, obviously worked with Troma at the beginning of his career. Still has a really good relationship with Lloyd Kaufman, who I spoke to this week for Forbes.
Very cool.
Yeah.
He's a legend.
Well, I spoke to him a couple of weeks ago. It's a really interesting piece, actually, that I stuck it up on Forbes this week. So if you go to Forbes and search my name, Simon Thompson, you'll find it. Or if you just Google Simon Thompson Troma. It's about basically talking about how they started out making $500,000 movies and how that's not really viable these days. They've changed their business model. So if you're interested in that side of the industry, says some very interesting things about how he thinks Trump will affect access to movies and getting movies and stuff out there, and a few other things in there. And he talks about the relationship that he has with people like James Gunn and Trey Parker and Matt Stone and J.J. Abrams.
Well,
obviously,
all these guys grew up watching those trauma movies. By the way, a Donald Trump trauma movie would be incredible.
I did float that idea with him.
I'm so sick of Donald Trump. I hate that SNL opens every week, with a political sketch.
I think Donald Trump's sick of Donald Trump.
All these fucking mini series that are now being written about the election.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many projects. It's like Hollywood is just, they speak out of both sides of their mouth. They can't stand the guy, but they all want to make money off of him. So I'm like totally sick of seeing all these projects announced. But a trauma project with Donald Trump, that I would fucking see.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of sort of deeper topics I wanted to bring up this week. If you're game for it, we only have
absolutely.
a few minutes. Have you heard anything about a WGA strike?
No, I haven't. Tell me.
Writer's strike is in the air right now, and I've been conflicted about covering it for the tracking board. I really haven't seen the trades delve into it very much. I mean, so the writers the guild contract comes up in like 70 days or whatever.
Yeah.
And anytime you're at the negotiating table, you have to be prepared for that stance of we're going to strike. I just feel like the last time that happened, everybody got hurt. I don't think writers really made the gains that they were hoping for. But I did want to take the opportunity to plug Richard Rushfield's new newsletter, The Ankler. Have you Richard Rushfield?
No, I don't.
He used to run HitFix. He's been a big editor all over town.
Yes, context. I get it.
So yeah, he just started this newsletter, and if you love movies and talking about the business as we do here on Meet the Movie Press, go to theankler.com, ANKLER, and subscribe to Richard's newsletter because it's really interesting. And he's been talking a little bit about the writer's strike. So there are rumblings of that around town, but I don't think that it'll happen this time.
I don't think it'll happen. I mean, obviously, we all remember, the last one that happened. Obviously, one of the biggest, casualties of that was the Transformers sequel, where
projects got killed, all kinds of stuff.
Loads of good projects got killed, and that went ahead basically without a script because they had to cobble shit together.
Right, that's the thing. The projects either died off or they got made, but without real scripts.
Because it had gone to, and it was just, which is one of the reasons that was just terrible, and it's not good for
You're not in the
audiences.
Writers Guild, are you?
I'm currently not in the Writers
Are
Guild.
you in the PGA though?
No, I'm not.
But you produce. You just got to.
I do. I need to join. I have a list of things to do. After my taxes. Right, that's sexy. So I have a list of things to do at the moment, actually, where, that is on my list. I have a number of organizations, foreign press. I need to Hollywood Foreign Press I need to join as well, and a few other groups. So
yeah, dude, get in.
I do need to do that. So.
There's been a lot of talk this week about Denzel Washington's making a surge for Best Actor. Apparently, a majority of the gurus of gold are now predicting a Denzel win over Casey Affleck. To me, that would be blasphemy. Say whatever you want about Casey's past and what he is accused of. I think his performance stands head and shoulders as the best thing I've seen all year. Would you be shocked by a Denzel win? Like, is this just the sort of we need something to talk about after talking about the same thing for 6 months, and so we need maybe the element. Let's introduce the potential element of surprise.
I think as far as Manchester by the Sea, I think for that as I know it's a very well loved movie and it's had fantastic reviews, but I think that came out of the gates a little bit early. I'm surprised that La La Land, as much as I love that movie, has managed to sustain, because they started pushing that movie at Venice last year.
Right.
So we've been talking about La La Land for like 8 months, which is, it's very rare that you talk about a movie consistently for 8 months.
It feels like award season has been endless.
Yes. I think it could be right, because I think a lot of people. Fences has only opened in the UK now. It opened in the US around the holidays, but in many markets it's only just coming through. So it's a new movie. Hidden Figures only opens in the UK this week.
Is this going to be a popularity contest where everybody loves Denzel and everybody, he gives a good speech, and Casey kind of gets up there and mumbles and maybe doesn't have the same personality or whatever. I mean, I don't feel this way, but other people do.
Well, I don't. I mean, personally, it's difficult to call because they both give great performances in very different ways.
Denzel's great too, but
so it's like comparing apples and oranges. You know, do I think it could happen? Yes, I think it could.
Do you
happen.
think the Academy should be taking Casey's pass? Because it seems like that is really like what this is turning on.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so.
Now here's another interesting thing. This was another topic on my list. And Fleming wrote a good piece on it yesterday. It's obviously been in the ether. The foreign language Oscar nominees are worried that everyone is going to vote for Asghar Farhadi because of the ban. Yeah. The travel ban, and he's not going to be attending the ceremony. So a lot of voters have sort of expressed like, I'm going to be sympathetic to the cause and everything and vote for him, or that a vote for him and the salesman would symbolize a vote against Donald Trump. I think that this is unfortunately an accurate narrative, and it's depressing. Like if I was the director of one of those other 4 movies, I'd feel like Trump almost cost me an Oscar with this travel ban. Where do you kind of fall on this?
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I think this year I've seen quite a few of the foreign language entries, and it's a very strong category this year. Do I think The Salesman is the best movie? I don't. I think it's a great movie. I don't think in the category it's the best movie. I could see that happening, but also while the Oscars are going on a week on Sunday, as we're doing this live, there's actually going to be a screening of The Salesman in central London, which everybody in London can go to for free, taking place at the same time, because obviously, potentially, these people might not be allowed into the country. It's not the only film affected. There's a man called Ove, which is the Swedish entry. She's not nominated, but she might be coming if she can come into the country. There's a woman in that who plays the Iranian neighbor of the main character, and she might not be allowed to come. So if they want to have the whole team from the film to go up there to accept the award, there's a chance, because she's Iranian, that she might not be allowed into the country currently. So it affects more people in more categories across the Oscars than just The Salesman.
I think the point of the item was just like, I want people to vote for the best movie and forget about all these other things. I don't know if people can do that, if they can put those things, in the back of their mind and compartmentalize.
It's difficult. I mean, we've seen it kind of before, where as great movies as they've been, we've seen, in the Oscars and other award ceremonies, we do tend to see issues. It tends to be issue voting or an issue movie or something. It does happen in the industry. It's kind of inevitable, because these things also have the benefit then of throwing really important light on very important issues. So I think The Salesman, does do that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, who should win? I'm not quite sure. I mean, I had a conversation earlier about La La Land and Moonlight. Where do I think that will lie? And I'm like, my heart says La La Land, but I've got a feeling that it might go to Moonlight.
That would be a shocker.
Which would be a shocker, but I think there is this checks and balances thing where, we've given La La Land, 'cause it's like 11 nominations or something like that.
14,
14.
Yeah.
Where it's like, okay, well, you've won 8 for this, so maybe you don't win these awards. I think there might be a little bit of checks and balances, but I mean, ultimately we don't know till the night. But I mean, if either of them win, it's because they did a great job acting, which is their job. So
it's going to be a showdown for sure. There was we're going to do a lightning round to wrap up, but there was one more thing I want to have a minute or two discussion. Did you see the thing about the EEOC this week? The lawsuit from female directors against the studios, and the government ruled that the studios did in fact discriminate against women?
I did see something about that. Yeah,
that was interesting, and the studios pushing back against a perceived Rooney Rule that they would have to interview minority directors essentially for each project. This is complicated stuff. So you think that the Rooney Rule is good?
I think you should. I mean, everybody should be considered for a job because they're good for a job. I think that's fantastic. But I think there is a massive lack of representation from fresh talent and minority talent.
Okay. I think that something has to be done about that, but I do not think a Rooney Rule is a good idea. I think that there's been a lot of pushback against that in the NFL, where teams just bring in,
you shouldn't do it just because someone's
that's
a minority.
That's what the Rooney Rule is. That's what it is.
I think it should be a case of where you have to include a certain number of people who are of an ethnic minority, but they don't necessarily have to get the job, but you should give them the chance.
Why does there need to be a them at all? Like, like, what if a studio just wants, I want to hire Chris Nolan. Chris Nolan's interested, I want to hire him. Why do I need to consider these other people who the government is telling me I have to consider? Like,
I just think I just think we need more representation. I think we should.
I think so too.
Sometimes you have to force the hand to make an issue get heard, and I think then it will from there it will naturally and organically.
I think that is some very complicated territory
It is complicated.
that the government is wading into. I just feel like if
But
I'm
we can't-
putting
we
up
can't-
$100 million,
but we
I want to be
can't-
able to hire who I want.
Yeah, I'm not saying. Yeah, but either side, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. You know, but I think we
that's the
should
tough
open
part.
these doors. So.
I agree.
Okay, let's talk about movies coming out this weekend as well. President's Day weekend
Okay,
here in
you
the
do
US.
that, yeah,
Okay, Great Wall came out last night.
I'm not seeing this. Did you see this?
I had the opportunity to go and see it this week, and I had too many other things that I needed to do, and it wasn't a priority. Thursday opened with 970,000. It's looking at a weekend of about 17 million, which is quite soft considering the budget. It's done okay in China already. Fist Fight really does not look funny.
I saw it.
Really?
I enjoyed it for what it was. I thought it was a guilty pleasure. I enjoyed some of the kids in it. But no, it's a very thin premise stretched to 90 minutes.
Looking to open around the same, about 17 million.
Okay.
It took about 600,000 last night. And Cure for Wellness opened last night with 300,000, which is pretty soft. It's only looking to pull in 6 or 8 this weekend. I think that film's pretty much dead in the water, unfortunately.
The reviews killed that movie, and its
looks great, but
runtime
it
of
just
2.5
doesn't-
hours.
Yeah, it's not appealing.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
All right, let's end the show with a quick rundown of everything we missed.
Sure.
Joaquin Phoenix got 2 new co-stars: Jake Gyllenhaal,
Yes.
joining him, and John C. Reilly in The Sisters Brothers,
Yep.
and Jack Black joining Joaquin in a new Gus Van Sant movie.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty cool. Jared Leto making his directorial debut with the crime thriller
I saw
77.
that. I'm really interested to see this.
It seems like an odd choice for a directorial debut. I thought he might want to do something a little bit more personal, but
Yeah.
he just wants the chance to get behind the camera. That's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Constance Wu, starring in John Chu's Crazy Rich Asians movie.
Yes.
I don't watch Fresh Off the Boat, but people tell me she's fantastic in it.
I don't like the show, but I like her in it.
Okay. Amblin Partners picked up a hot spec called Ruthless, which has been described as a female John Wick. Which actress would you want to see play like a female John Wick, real quick?
Naomi Rapace.
Okay. Wow. Cary Fukunaga directing an A-bomb movie called Shockwave for Universal. Jeremy Saulnier, the director of Green Room and Blue Ruin. He cast up his new movie Hold the Dark. It's
Green
gonna
Room,
star,
love that movie.
Yeah, definitely check that out
So
if you haven't
good.
seen it. Jeffrey Wright, James Badge Dale, and Alexander Skarsgård are in that film. Mahershala Ali joined Triple Frontier with Tom Hardy and Channing Tatum. Jurassic World added James Cromwell and Ted
Very
Levine.
excited about that.
And that'll probably do it for us. Simon, where can the good folks find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Showbiz Simon, and on Facebook, This is Simon Thompson. Also, don't forget that if you go to blueapron.com/meet, you can get your first 3 meals free with free shipping. You'll love how it feels. You'll love how it tastes. Incredible home-cooked meals with Blue Apron. Don't wait. Because of them, we can do this, and you can have it for free.
Thanks. And I'm Jeff Sneider, editor-in-chief of The Tracking Board. Please add that to your bookmark. Subscribe to our newsletters, all that good stuff. You can
No good snuff.
No, there's no
People
snuff.
die in
There's no
snuff.
snuff. And you can find me on Twitter at the InSnyder. I'll be sure to rate, comment, subscribe to the Popcorn
Tell
Talk
your
Network.
friends.
Yeah,
Spread
tell
the
your,
word.
Tell your grandmother. My grandmother watches the show. Hi, Nanny.
Mine's dead.
Happy birthday
She is dead.
to Big Daddy this week, and have a good weekend, folks.
Yeah.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Christian Harloff, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of its owners or principals.